Be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy.
Ain't no nostalgia to this shit here.
But hire a former enemy,
and you with Prop Joe now.
and he will be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove.
But now, nigga, that was for Joe.
In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies.
Shit, partner.
If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode here on Bully Whispers, and we are here today to evaluate law number 2 of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power in the series The Wire. Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. Now, obviously you always have enemies while rarely having friends in both crime and politics, and I do know that cheese is family, not friend, but the principles behind the law run rampant through the series. So in this episode, we will examine Law 2 in The Wire primarily through Prop Joe's relationship with Cheese, although Michael, Lee, and Namond will make appearances, by comparing them and their actions with the historical examples and reasoning given, as well as how Carcetti used Mao Tse-tung, of all people's, political strategies to take the election. The book starts with someone who violated the law in Byzantine Emperor Michael III, but we'll get to him in a bit. Instead, we will start with someone who followed it in Emperor Sung of China, since one of Prop Joe's key strategies mirrored Sung's in his securing of power. For centuries after the fall of the Han Dynasty, China had nothing but coups happening one after the other. The army would take over, a general would become emperor and kill all of the other generals, and a few years later it would happen again. So when Emperor Sung took the throne, he decided to do something different. Rather than kill all the generals like everyone else, he let them retire in luxury with all of the entertainment and women they desired. While Prop Joe could never really offer retirement, with the co-op he was essentially offering the same thing as Emperor Sung, security instead of anxiety. In getting everyone to join the co-op, he turned a lot of people who were at least competition, if not enemies, into what were as close to friends as you can really get in the drug business, and that truly is the best way to use your enemies. However, unlike Emperor Sung, who kept friends at a distance and even killed some, Prop Joe acted more like Byzantine Emperor Michael III. Michael inherited the throne via some pretty shady actions, and despite the fact that most people advised him to make Bardas his chief counselor, since Bardas understood the job, Michael chose his friend Basilius, who had no real qualifications. Michael fast-tracked Basilius up the ladder, continually gave him money and gifts, and even had Bardas killed due to his influence. Eventually, Michael ran into some financial troubles, and when he asked Basilius to repay some of the loans he had given, he received a very disrespectful no as a response.
Bye, Felicia.
In that moment, he realized he had created a monster. Basilius now had more money and connections than he did. Soon after, Basilius had Michael killed and installed himself as emperor. While a lot goes into creating a situation like this, which we will get into in a bit, the key moment in this scenario is the disrespectful no for two reasons. First, in a general sense, a lot can be told about somebody by how they allow themselves to be treated, and this is something that Michael notices about Namond throughout the course of Season 4. After the pee-filled balloon retaliation, where Namond was covered in piss while Michael took a beating, Namond attempted to reassert his alpha status by punking Dookie and not buying him ice cream, which was his usual tactic since Dookie never fought back. Michael noticed this and gave Namond a bit of a mean mug, which got him to give Dookie some money. Now, in and of itself, that didn't mean much. After all, Michael was a tough kid and he knew it, and at that point he still sort of viewed them as being somewhat on the same level. However, over the course of the year, Michael noticed how Namond would only pick on certain people while backing down from others, until the day he saw a 9-year-old canard steal Namond's stash, talk trash to his face, and he did nothing about it. Not only did he not do anything, when Michael did, he ran away.
Go ahead, Nay. Get your pack off this bitch, so we could go.
I ain't want it.
So when Namond came into the gym later trying to act tough, Michael wasn't buying it.
Man, yo, I feel like I could just pancake a youngin' right now, you know what I mean?
This caused Namond to go to his usual default method of feeling tough, picking on Dookie.
Fucking dog shit and smelling ass nigga. Hey!
But Michael had some jokes of his own.
What is the 5 fingers? Say to the face!
By that point, Michael thought so little of Namond that he didn't even punch him with a closed fist like Kennard. He slapped Namond.
I mean, even when slapping was fashionable, and, they did it in Paris, the guy would come up, "Why, man, I challenge you to a duel." They would have a gunfight after that.
And I'm sure we know who the winner of that fight would be. Similar to how Michael Lee's respect for Namond dropped, Basilius' respect for Michael III dropped, and his lack of response may have given Basilius the confidence to make his move, which is where we run into the second, more specific reason that the disrespectful no was such a significant moment. Robert Greene notes that at this point, Micheal was still emperor, and had he acted immediately, he could have easily had Basilius arrested or killed, avoiding the situation entirely. Instead, he refused to act on the threat because he didn't believe his friend would betray him, and this is where we run into the relationship between Prop Joe and Cheese.
Till this shit sort itself out, Cheese gonna watch the shop. You gonna watch Cheese.
Prop Joe knew Cheese was a shady dude and had seen the increasing disrespect at the co-op meetings, so much so that he put Slim in charge of watching him. Yet he still put Cheese in charge of his getaway because he didn't believe his nephew would sell him out to that degree. But how does that type of situation come to develop? Just like Micheal III, Prop Joe promoted and sheltered Cheese due to their personal relationship, which is a violation of this law. Two of the main reasons for this are A, your friends, or in this case family, are rarely the most capable, and B, when they see your power up close and get a taste of it, they will grow envious and want it for themselves, both of which prove to be true with Cheese. When this happens, Greene points out that the friend will often feel encumbered by the help they received along the way, so they will ignore it and act like they got there on their own.
Because Joe had his time, and Omar put an end to that. Then Marlo had his time, short as it was, and the police put an end to that. And now, motherfucker, it's our time, mine's and yours.
Of course, Cheese's time at the top ended up being cut even shorter than Marlo's, and speaking of people's time at the top being cut short, we have Royce's time as mayor being cut short by Carcetti. Tommy Carcetti shocked a lot of people by being elected mayor, and did so by using many of Mao Tse-tung's political strategies, although if he had followed them all, he never would have ran in the first place. One of Mao's noted strategies was not to engage in a fight unless you know you will win, but Carcetti ran anyway, and he won largely because he understood, like Mao, that a clearly defined enemy is much stronger than any words. In this regard, Carcetti had the best strategy of the three, running on a platform of crime. Gray's campaign focus on education was less effective, not because it's less important, but because it's somewhat amorphous and doesn't present a clearly defined enemy. With crime, there is one: criminals. But who is it with education? Is it the teachers? No. Is it the students? No. The only thing you can really point at is the budget, which is also an amorphous opponent that doesn't allow you to frame the struggle as good versus evil the way Carcetti could with crime. However, a clearly defined enemy that allows the struggle to be portrayed as good versus evil is only part of Mao's strategy. You also have to be able to use your opponent in framing it that way, and Royce was not viewed as part of the problem. Crime was a part of life long before Royce took office, and would continue to be long after he had left. So in that respect, the concern of criticism against Carcetti was legitimate. At that point, Carcetti was just a rich white guy bitching about crime, but then he got the information about the dead witness. With that information, he was able to paint Royce into the struggle on the side of evil, while he was the good guy who got matching state funds approved. Combine that with Royce's apparently doubling down by slowing up the case, and Baltimore had a new mayor, Tommy Carcetti. Once mayor, if Carcetti didn't have enemies before, he certainly does now, but Mao never worried about having known enemies, since at least you were aware of who they were.
And do we know what the long con is?
At least we know he's running one.
Which is something they seem to be on top of. Well, thanks for watching this episode here on Bully Whispers. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you at the next score.